financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. With me today, Jenny Lingle.
Good morning, Ken.
Brian Small.
Good morning.
David Einstanding.
Always a pleasure.
The core crew is here for the show today. Our topic for this segment is how to solve a business-related tax problem. You guys ready for this?
Been waiting all week.
It's going to be when you have a business that's in trouble and it kind of goes under, usually there's tax and debt problems that can occur, and the question is, what do you do after to get rid of them? All right, I'm going to be Jim today, and I was the owner of Jim's Family Restaurant.
Hold on. Are you a member of the Actors Guild?
Yes, of course.
You can.
I'm a
non-contributing member,
non-union member.
'Cause I don't know
actor.
if you can act.
I can. Well, yes, you do. You know I can't act. So how's that? So I'm going to be Jim. I had Jim's Family Restaurant, and I'm coming in to Thav Gross to meet with Jenny Lingle, Brian Small, David Einstanding, and sometimes I'm going to be Ken Gross to help solve my tax problem.
So this is a little bit of Sybil.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just going to say that.
All right.
But I'm not going to start swinging my head back and forth, but I think that was Carrie. Okay. Do you remember Carrie?
That was The
Stephen
Exorcist.
King? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Red Room.
All right. So I operated a restaurant for many years. It closed recently. We ran out of money. I'm going to give you my numbers. I'm sitting with you guys. You're saying, well, what's going on? Well, here are my problems, okay? I had a lot of business debt. I had a secured line with the bank. I owe them $100,000. I had equipment leases, 2 with GE Capital with another leasing company. I owe them $85,000. Food vendors, Gordon Food Service, things like that, I owed $35,000 to. Credit cards that I used in the business when cash flow was bad, $125,000. I owe payroll taxes to the federal government, $150,000. I owe $85,000 to the state in payroll taxes that I didn't pay. And we owe the landlord on the building $50,000.
I just want to make a point here that's important. Ken. Over half, if maybe 60%, I haven't done the math, of these obligations are related to taxes and credit cards. And this is typical. This is what we see almost every time when a client comes in, especially in any type of business or restaurant. The bottom line is the credit cards and the taxes are the easiest to defer to stay in business because it doesn't come up until the tax man comes knocking on the door. So that's why those items are so great. And unfortunately, with the taxes, they become so material to deal with, so difficult to deal with. And I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And well, I'm back to Jim. I'm not Ken. And Jim I'm going to say to him, listen, I didn't have the cash flow.
Did anyone ever tell you, Jim, you look just like Ken?
Thank you. I didn't have the cash, so I didn't make the payroll deposits on my employees. I figured I'd get them caught up the next month. Business didn't get better, so then I kept pushing that off. Then I didn't file the returns because I didn't file the returns, figuring if I didn't file the returns, they wouldn't figure it out.
Because if you don't pay your vendor, what don't you have? Right. You're a restaurant. You don't have any food to sell.
And they put me on COD.
The problem that Jim has done here is it is absolutely
I'm
typical.
Jim.
Well, the problem that you've created, Jim,
No, I'm Ken.
is
No,
that you
okay.
have
Sorry.
absolutely created a typical situation, as David says, where we're starting to borrow from Uncle Sam. And the problem is that if the business goes, which it did, where are you going to get the money to pay back Uncle Sam? Because you put yourself in a very difficult situation from numerous
I wanted to
standpoints.
keep the business going, and it didn't work, and that's why I'm here to see you guys to figure out how to solve the problem.
Which is why, if you're watching the show and your business and you're starting to do these type of things where you are incurring personal debt to carry the business forward, where you are borrowing from your uncle in Washington, D.C. because you say, oh, it'll get better next month. Stop. Come in and see us right now. Do not let it get worse before, because it will get worse. And if you're going to make it get worse, at least plan so that the worst part of it can be dealt with. I mean, if you're going to invest in your business
absolutely,
to try and make it, to turn it around, you want to put your money where it belongs, not where it doesn't.
You're getting
belong.
a little too cryptic, though, because people are not, I'm concerned that people aren't going to get the message. We're not talking about borrowing from Uncle Sam like a loan and so forth. You're being caustic when you're saying that. What we're talking about is the cash flow of the business isn't there. It happens to a lot of business owners. They don't make their federal tax depository, figuring they'll get it cleared up the next month, and then the next month is the same, the next month is the same. The problem is, and the problem for me as Jim, was the day I say I can't make the federal tax depositories, I have to close the doors. If I close the doors, all my employees lose their jobs, and I have no way of putting food on the table for my family.
It's no different.
So it's not it wasn't an easy
It's
thing.
no different than saying I'm going to get to the gym, I'm going to lose those 10 or 15 pounds, I'm going to do it next week, I'm going to do it next month. And there's a strong analogy there, and that's why Florine Mark and Weight Watchers are a multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
You know, Brian and I
are you
see-
an agent for Florine Mark? This is
This
the
is a
second or
second-
third show that you've pumped this. Is there something going on here that we should know?
Okay, medical weight loss, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, fine.
Well, I think Brian and I see this a lot, and we usually see people before they close the doors when they're trying to make the determination of can we still operate and should we still operate.
Absolutely. All right, so we're coming up to a break. So let me give you the rest of my debts. I also owe personal income taxes of $85,000 from 2011 and 2012. I've got personal credit cards of $40,000. My first mortgage is $200,000. My second mortgage is $50,000. The house is worth about $195,000. So I've got a lot of debt. On those debts, my bank line, capital leases, those were personally guaranteed. My food vendor was not personally guaranteed. The credit cards are all in my name, so I'm on the hook. We come back from the break. I need you guys to tell me, what do I do to get out of these debts?
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. So I gave you my debts. I laid it out for you, but I didn't tell you what assets I have, and I'm sure you want to know that before you figure out what we can do. So let me tell you, I don't have a lot. I got cash in the bank at 10 grand. I have a house that's worth 195, but the first mortgage is 200,000, the second is 50. I have an IRA, it's down to $10,000. I tapped out what I had put into the company. I have a Corvette, 1995. I think it's worth about $15,000. I love my Corvette. You know, it's an extra car I like to use. It's all I have left. I got, personal belongings, maybe $5,000. I don't know. So I maybe have $235,000 of assets. So Brian, Jenny, David, what can we do?
Are you married?
I'm married. I have 2 kids.
What's their names?
Sarah, Jenny, and Barney. I had to come up with
Isn't
names.
that 3?
That's a wife and 2 kids.
Oh, the wife
Wife
and
and
2
2
kids.
kids.
Okay, all right.
All right, and don't ask me in 15 minutes what the
Right.
names of the kids
I
are.
thought you were
'cause
gonna say
I
Monique
don't
and
have it
Unique.
written down into the outline.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about what debts I'm personally liable on. All right, because, Jim's Family Restaurant was a corporation. And just kind of to lay that out for people so that you realize not everything when your business goes down, if you're incorporated or you're an LLC, are you personally liable for. You're personally liable for those debts that you agreed to be personally responsible for. Plus, you're personally liable for certain tax debts as a matter of law.
And I asked if Jim was married or you were married because it becomes relevant if your wife has guaranteed that debt also. So I'm assuming for purposes of this, there are no joint guarantees between husband and wife.
There are no joint guarantees.
Okay, keep going.
So and she's not involved in the business. So on the taxes, as we'll talk about, the payroll taxes that are not paid, those I have personal liability on for federal and state, but there's a concept called trust fund taxes, because these are payroll taxes. And the trust fund, what portion of the federal taxes am I liable for?
You're not
Jenny?
liable for your matching portion.
As the employer?
As the employer. You are just personally liable for the federal tax that the employee withheld from their paycheck, as well as their Social Security, their Medicare, their FICA tax.
All right, so let me switch back to Jim and say if I understand what you're saying to me. Is when I pay in my payroll taxes, out of the payment that I make in the depository, I'm paying the amount withheld from the employees for federal withholding and for Social Security and Medicare, and I also have to match what they pay for Social Security and Medicare.
Correct. So
I'm not on the hook for the part that I had to match.
Correct. You're not personally liable for that
But
portion.
the stuff that I withheld from them, I'm personally on the hook for.
That's correct.
All right,
Is
what
it about
about
half? Is it about half of whatever that
It's,
payment is?
isn't it slight? It's actually
It's-
slightly
it's
more than
usually
half.
more
It's
like 60, 70%.
60.
that I'm liable for?
Right. So
Correct.
of the $150,000 of federal payroll taxes
60%.
that Jim's Family Restaurant Inc. owes, Jim is going to owe about 60 to 70%.
How does it work with the state? Because I owe $85,000 to the state.
Well, the state is just withholding. There's no matching portion there, as well as probably your sales tax. So you will be liable for both
For
the
all
sales
of that.
and
Right.
withholding.
You don't owe anything
Yeah,
more.
the
You don't owe
$85,000
any-
is sales
You don't owe
tax, yeah.
anything more to the state other than 100%.
Great. That's right. All right. So all right. Now, can I discharge those in bankruptcy?
No. Payroll
Brian,
taxes.
you're a bankruptcy guru. I've come to Thav Gross because I've read stuff that you've written. I've read about you and heard that you're a genius. So I'm assuming I can get rid of the tax obligation by coming to you. Are you telling me
We can
I
help
can't?
you with the tax obligation, but you cannot discharge payroll taxes or trust fund taxes in a bankruptcy. You can repay them, you can reorganize them under Chapter 13 or Chapter 11, depending on the type of entity, but you cannot discharge them.
Right, but then maybe Jenny can help me with an offer and compromise down the road or something.
Yeah.
Adam. There is a plan here.
Well, there's a multi-level plan. It's kind of like multi-level marketing here, but we got lots of things we can actually do. And there's probably at least 2, if not 3 steps to getting Jim out of debt.
All right, so I'm going to ask you what they are. to tell me. But first of all, what about before we get to that, what about my income tax debt? Because the income taxes are for 2011 and 2012. Can those be discharged in a bankruptcy?
Yes and no.
All right, so how does that work?
Well, the answer is
Guru.
yes, income tax debt is dischargeable. In this case, 1 year is and 1 year isn't. We have a waiting period that we have to meet.
What's the
In
rule?
order for income taxes to be dischargeable, A, the tax must have come due at least 3 years ago. B, you had to have filed your returns at least 2 years ago, and you couldn't have been assessed in the last 240 days.
All right, so how does that work for my 2011 and 2012
Well,
taxes?
2012 was due April 15th or October 15th, 2013.
Well,
If you
no,
filed-
filing date. It's due on
yeah.
April 15th.
So if you filed an extension, your return is due October 15th.
Okay. Let's say I filed my return on April 15th.
So if you filed your return on April 15th, 2013, 3 years is April 15th, 2016. 1 day later, April 16th, 2016,
So
that tax becomes dischargeable.
We're coming up to a break. Does that mean if I wait till April 16th or after of next year, I can then discharge that debt as well as the 2011 debt?
Yes.
Assuming I meet all the other requirements?
Yes.
All right, so that puts us kind of in a potential waiting game for 4 or 5 months to file the bankruptcy.
Correct.
All right, so I now know you guys are telling me I can get rid of the income taxes. What about these other debts? Can I get rid of everything else other than the payroll taxes?
Yes and no.
What's the no?
The answer is
In 20 seconds.
yes, you can get rid of all of your unsecured debt, but if there are any secured debts, which you would eliminate your personal responsibility, but specifically since you have a house with a mortgage and you want to keep your house, you want to continue to pay your mortgage.
All right, we're going to have to tell me more about that when we come back from the break.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Samasco Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Samasco Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Samasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Samasco Law today.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. Now, Brian, I want to come back to you and talk about this mortgage issue, but before, let me do announcements. So I want to welcome our Flint viewers on Fox 66. Our office in Flint is up and running.
Is Jim doing our announcements or is Ken doing
Ken's doing the announcements
Okay.
this time.
All right.
I want to let viewers know we have a new website for Thav Gross. Check it out. It's got links to all of our free reports. You can download them right off the site. You can schedule free consultations, sign up for seminars, and so forth. I think people will like it. That's the Thav Gross website. Also, the Law and Reality website is very similar. We have a seminar coming up Wednesday, December 9th. The best gift is becoming debt-free. Sign up for it at thavgross.com. It is on Wednesday, December 9th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at our offices in Bingham Farms. We're going to cover all the issues of how to eliminate debt in an effective way. But the mantra is about the future. If you eliminate the debt, you put yourself in a position where you can start saving the money that you've been spending on those credit card payments, putting it in the bank so that when you get to 60, there's something to retire with other than just Social Security, which isn't going to be enough. I want to thank our sponsors, Thav Gross and also Samasco Law. Back to the mortgage. So if I file this Chapter 7 bankruptcy and I discharge the mortgage obligation on the first mortgage and on the second mortgage, it's $250,000 worth of debt. My house is worth about $195,000. If I want to keep, does this mean I don't have to make the mortgage payments anymore and I can keep the house?
Okay, if that's what it meant, I'd have people lined up to Canada to file bankruptcy.
It's not that far to Canada. We're in Detroit.
Okay, how about
And
Los
wait a minute.
Angeles?
Okay.
Which port? I mean, the Ambassador Bridge or the Blue Water
Probably
Bridge?
British Columbia.
The Blue
So
Water
you're
Bridge.
saying no.
No.
But so the benefit is if I want to keep the house, I still have to make the payments. But there is a benefit. What is it?
The benefit is you've eliminated your personal liability on the underlying debt. So in this case,
Quickly
your
tell me
house
the
is
benefit.
worth $195 and you owe $250 on it. But if your house, and it may not make that much of a
You're not
difference.
going to be quick. Okay.
But if your house is worth $100,000 and you owe $250 on it, it's never going to not be underwater again. So eliminating the debt makes sense
All right.
because if you want to walk away down the road, you can.
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit quicker on it. The benefit is if I stop making the payments and I let the house go back to the bank for one reason or another, they can't sue me on the debt at this point because I've already discharged it. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes, that's why.
Okay.
Remember the part where I said
That's
you've
what you were
eliminated
saying.
your personal liability on the underlying
Okay,
debt?
now let's go back to the bankruptcy. All right. I'm making $75,000 a year. Well, I got a new job.
What are you
Is that
doing?
a-
What are you doing?
I'm not telling. Is that,
Just
I'm a
wondering what you were
TV
doing.
personality. How's that? Okay.
Okay. NFL, not for long.
Not for long. Very good. Yeah, it's just like the Lions. Okay. Is that a problem in the bankruptcy from the standpoint of my income? Do I have to do this Chapter 13 thing? Do I have to go through this means test thing? I've been watching you, Brian. You talk about all these things on the show.
The answer
what
is
does that mean?
The answer is no. And here's the reason
Good.
why. The majority of your debt is non-consumer debt. Because the majority of your debt is non-consumer debt, you do not have to take the means test. We do not apply those standards associated with the means test, which is an income-based test. And in
So
this,
when you say non-consumer, you mean my business debt and my tax debt is non-consumer debt?
That's correct.
What about my mortgage?
that's consumer debt.
What about the credit cards that are personal?
Those are business debt because you use them to supplement and fund your business with them.
The ones that went for the business, but the
Right.
ones that I use for my personal charges are personal.
That's correct.
Because I've got about 25,000 of that. All right, so that gets me around the means test.
Right. In this case, though, you wouldn't take the means test anyway because at a $75,000
With
income
family
with
of four.
family of four, you are slightly below the median income.
I can tell you this very quickly. I just finished a case where we took the client through a Chapter 7. They were making almost $300,000 a year. However, they had, even though they took out a line of credit years ago when times were great, on their personal line of credit that was a second mortgage on their home, The bottom line was that money went into their business, and we were able to take advantage of a Chapter 7, notwithstanding that they made $300,000 a year, and we discharged about $1 million worth of debt.
Exceeded the personal debt.
Even though the loan said consumer loan on the documents, if you can prove that it was done for business, that's what counts.
Absolutely
So,
correct.
next question. I've got some assets. What about my IRA? What about my Corvette? And what about my $10,000 of cash? If you're going to put me into a Chapter 7, what of those items can I keep? And then after that, I'm going to flip it over to Jenny, and I'm going to ask, what about my $175,000 of tax debt?
Well, you can keep almost everything that you own, but you're going to have to make a choice. The IRA is 100% protected.
So I get to keep that.
Right.
Good.
Now you've got a Corvette worth $15,000 and $10,000 in cash.
I like my Corvette.
I understand. The Corvette can be protected. You can protect $12,250 worth of cash or equivalent, which is in this case a Corvette. And you can protect $3,650 of equity in a car. Therefore, when you add $12,250 and $3,650 together, that's more than the value of the car. So what you're going to be able to do is protect the car
But not the cash?
and a little bit of the cash.
Wait, Brent.
So I can
Wait a
spend the
minute.
cash.
Wait a minute. Couldn't I sell the Corvette to my wife for $15,000 and have her pay it out over time, and then negotiate with the trustee to maybe take care of it for $4,000? Is that a potential?
Well, wouldn't the trustee take the note?
The trustee would
if they
take
want
the
to take it
note.
over 8 years, sure.
Can I sell the Corvette to my wife?
You can sell any assets that
For
you
fair
want
market
for fair
value.
market value.
And I could use that money to pay the mortgage.
Well, how
and I
much
can
you
use
think-
that money to pay for
I'm
food.
guessing that the Corvette's worth $15,000. It's 1995. What do you think it's worth, Brian?
I don't know.
You're
I'd
a
have
guru
to.
in
I have.
bankruptcy.
Yeah. Well, I use 3 different websites to look up the
Oh, no,
values of
realistically,
vehicles.
how do you figure that out? What do you
We
do?
go on Kelley Blue Book, we go on NADA, and we go on Edmunds.com, and we evaluate the vehicles. And
So
if
you
there's
need
a-
to document what the value is. We can't just
Correct.
I can't just say it's only worth $5,000. Come on, you're a guru. Doesn't work that way.
If it was in
Gotta-
1990, if it was a 1977 Chevy Nova, maybe. But other than that,
Right, but the point being, there
Are
are
you saying
methods.
Chevy Novas don't have that kind of value?
I'm suggesting
the
that a
point-
Chevy Corvette and a Chevy Nova are 2 different
The
vehicles.
point being, there are methods and strategies to take care of these issues, and you could possibly be able to keep it all, potentially.
Now, we're out of time on the show to cover the tax problem, so that's going to carry over into the next show. The next show, I'm going to go right to Jenny. We're going to start off as Jim, and I'm going to want to know, how do I get rid of this $175,000 of non-dischargeable payroll tax debt? The bankruptcy's not going to resolve that, right?
That's right.
So I'm going to flip it over to Jenny, and in our next segment of Law and Reality, we're going to talk about how the offer and compromise can be used as a backup with the bankruptcy to finish off the plan. That's the game plan. Next week, we're also going to talk about, what if I've spent too much money on my credit cards for Christmas shopping? What do I do now? We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.